Howdy y'all, welcome to Nerd Studio. We're out at the range today to talk about the P10c versus the Glock 19 Gen 5. Stay tuned. Alright, so if you've been watching the channel lately, a lot of you may have noticed that I've been carrying a Gen 5 Glock 19, and in fact some of you have pointed that out and sent me messages saying, hey, what happened to your P10c? You were so impressed with it, it looks like you're no longer carrying it. And that's the truth. This here is my Gen 4 Glock 19. Carried this for about 2 years. Great gun. You can go back and watch all of my Versus videos talking about comparing it to a bunch of other guns that I tried, and like the Gen 4 Glock 19 better. The reality is I'm not a Glock fanboy. Glocks are great. I will shoot whatever I can get on target the most accurately, because that's really all that matters. As long as the gun will, is going to be reliable, I want the one that I can put on target the best. So up until the P10c, this was the gun. It had some shortcomings that I had to work around. Because the finger grooves here on the Gen 4, I had some trouble getting my finger around on the trigger. And so my buddy Glenn went and removed some meat here from the frame for me. Lots of videos about this back. You can go back and watch those if you want the full scoop. And so that solved the problem for me. Along came the P10c. This here is my buddy Ricky's, who is acting as cameraman. He's waving, I promise. Got one of these in fact, I got this gun in my hands and went, holy smokes, I think I shoot that better than the Gen 4 Glock 19. I picked one up, we did some comparison shooting, and sure as heck, I was much more confident shooting a P10c. It solved a bunch of problems for me. They deleted the finger grooves here. Well, deleted them. They didn't put finger grooves in here. I've got good reach around to the trigger because I think the shape and the size of the grip is better. And I shot the gun better than my Gen 4 Glock 19. So that became my new carry gun, not this one, the one I bought. So, like Ricky does, he brings a Gen 5 Glock 19 out to the range. We start playing with it, and wow, I did some side-by-side comparison and found out of these three guns, this turns out to be what I shoot the best. First of all, they've removed the finger grooves here, so when I'm shooting, I actually can get my trigger finger all the way around without modification. They've also done a recrown or a different crown on the barrel. These guns, side by side, I've shot this side by side with my Gen 4, and these barrels appear to be making a big difference in this kind of Glock, or in this model of Glock. I haven't done a side-by-side on the 17 yet. I have on my list to get a Glock 26 again in Gen 5 because I'm so impressed with what I've seen so far. So anyway, that's the process. Now, there are a couple of shortcomings that I found with the P10c along the way, and so I wanted to talk about those and shoot all three of these guns a little bit for you, and just sort of go through the steps that brought me to the Gen 5. So the shortcomings of this gun, first of all, and this was not unexpected, it's harder to find parts. There aren't a lot of parts out for the P10c yet, and I'll explain why that became a concern for me. Sights are not widely available. I was expecting the sight industry to pick up a little faster because this gun is so popular, and in fact in a lot of areas they're hard to find. There are some factory night sights that aren't too bad, but I looked at them and I really was waiting for a Mariglow or Trijicon, and they just haven't hit the market. I believe they will, but I'm really used to that kind of big orange sight picture on my Glocks. If you've watched any of those videos, I was really hoping that was going to happen fast. It didn't. But all of that aside, that's a waiting game. This gun's popular. It's less expensive and well built, with one exception, and that is the striker. So I shoot about 10,000 rounds a year, which is, quite a bit, I think, compared to the average shooter. And because of that, I tend to clean my guns more often, and I tend to break them down further than the average shooter. I go all the way into the striker channel, pull the striker out, and get all of the crud out of that. I think if you look at most pistol manuals, they'll tell you not to do that, to actually have a gunsmith go to that depth in when you need that cleaning done. And they're not wrong. Even with the Glock, it's not as simple as just taking the slide off. You got to get in there and pull some parts out, and they're small and can get lost and bent and all of that good stuff. But for as often as I shoot and as much as I shoot, I want to get in there, to get the crud out, but primarily to inspect those parts to make sure that the wear is not happening wrong. I want to look for parts that are shiny where they shouldn't be shiny, springs that are bent or showing showing the coil's not looking right, because all of those things could cause a malfunction when I need that gun the most. So I need to be able to break these guns down further. If I went to a gunsmith every time I needed that inspection, I'd be at paying a gunsmith $50-$60 to break my gun down every month, and that's just, it's not in the budget. So I've learned over time to do that with the Glocks. I went through that process with the P10c, and what I found was their striker assembly, if you touch that thing wrong, it goes boing in your hands, and to put that thing back together, you actually have to clock this little tiny spring. I had to get out a set of tweezers to do it. It happened twice to me, and I just said, enough's enough. I'm going to start looking for a better option. I wasn't going to stop carrying the gun because, again, my mantra is, as long as it's reliable and I shoot it the best, that's what I'm going to carry. That's what I'm going to carry. And then Ricky brought over the Gen 5, and I said, wow, I can actually shoot that better. So that's how I got to the Gen 5. Your mileage may vary. This is me. I'm not saying ditch your P10Cs. I'm not saying ditch your Gen 4s. I'm just saying this is the process that I went through and what works best for me. You have to find what works best for you. All right, let's shoot some guns and quit yapping. So I'm not the only one that I've seen have a different experience when shooting a Gen 4 and a Gen 5 Glock. Ricky, for example, has a whole different experience with it, I think, than we do, maybe for similar reasons. Like, what's the big difference you feel between the two?
The Gen 4s and the Gen 5s, you know, they are different. You know, you can go all the way back to the Gen 2s with no finger grooves.
Yeah.
But the Gen 3 19s and the Gen 4 19s, I've had a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Never could shoot them accurate because the finger grooves. And my hands, my knuckles are bigger, and when I go to grip it, I can't get up into it like I need to and to stay on target. But when the Gen 5s come along, you know, no finger grooves, you can get up in there higher, it's no problem, hold on to the gun better, and everything like that. It shoots better.
Yeah. What do you think of the crown on the barrel? Do you think that's making a difference?
Oh yeah, it with the, you know, I guess what they call the marksman barrel or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's what they're calling it.
The recessed crown in it, and plus it, you know, that's a good thing too. If you happen to drop it, you're not gonna mess the crown up.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I never thought about that.
And stuff like that, you know, because the tendency you may drop it, cleaning it and stuff like that, and you hit something and it chip it, you know, then your accuracy is gonna be off.
Right, right.
But with the recess, you know, and I think they redefined the rifling in the barrels too.
Yeah, I'm not a materials expert, so I read into that, and it wasn't. They were using some industry terms I wasn't understanding, but it was clear that they did some work on the rifling. I think it's still octagonal, right? Octagonal, polygonal. It's still, where did I get octagonal? It's still polygonal rifling. But it looks like they've made some differences.
They redefined it.
Yeah.
You know,
so yeah, what were your thoughts on the P10c?
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
You know, and just like you said, it's a great gun. The trigger, the reset, everything is. I mean, it's awesome. But when you get down to it, tearing it down, I shoot a lot too. Mm-hmm. And you go to tear it down, if you don't watch it, a little pin and a coil spring and a little thing that flips over, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, when we done mine the very first time, we cleaned it, and it took about an hour to get the spring back in correctly.
Yeah, it was a pain.
You know, so I still shoot it, and I've got until today, I've had about 2,500 rounds through it, no malfunctions, you know, all kind of ammo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you know, I kind of, when the Gen 5s come back along, you know, the P10 kind of went away in the safe.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, I got a Gen 5 17. And which the 17s and the 4s and 3s and 5s, I'd never had a problem with those.
It's always been the 19s?
It's just the 19,
okay.
The more compact one.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, I like them all.
That's because Ricky's probably my number one gun nut friend. So there you go. He likes them all.
If they go bang.
If they go bang, yeah. And the P10c does. I'm not knocking it. It's a great gun. They do have, like I think I mentioned before, they've got some good night sights coming out from, those are factory sights, right?
From CZ.
And so that'll give you some contrasting sight picture, and that's good stuff. You know, your mileage is going to vary with these comments because it really depends on, you know, how much you shoot. I think for most folks, you know, if you're a casual shooter, you shoot a couple hundred rounds a month. You never, you know, every couple of years you take it to a gunsmith, have him worry about those springs flying apart. There's no reason not to buy one of these P10cs, but since everyone asked, that's the whole story about why I ended up going back to the Gen 5 Glock. I get a lot of folks comment over the last couple of years that I am a Glock fanboy. I'm really not. I shoot what I shoot best as long as it's reliable. And right now it's a Gen 5 Glock. Somebody comes out with a better gun, I'll probably shoot it. So there you go. Cool. Hey, I want to point out the shirts are actually for sale. I'll put a link down in the description. It's not like I'm making a bunch of money, but off the shirts, but they're kind of fun. And Alex and I came up with the idea for the Not a Safe Direction shirt. We intend to wear them actually in our concealed carry classes because, you know, number one rule of gun safety, don't shoot the instructor.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. All right, folks, always remember, anyone can shoot, and you can shoot any of these guns. They're all fantastic. Anyone can shoot and have fun. We'll see you next time.
Yeehaw!